helping you put the big P in profession. Here's our career Sherpa, Julie Bauke.
Little lesson for you. Do not dip your French fry in the company ketchup. Joining me on the show this morning, Julie Bauke, our career Sherpa from the BaukeGroup.com, B-A-U-K-E. Jules, I knew the minute this happened, we'd be talking about what happened with the now former CEO of the McDonald's Corporation, one Steve Easterbrook, out after admitting to a consensual relationship with an employee. We don't know the employee, but I thought I heard that like someone who is a higher up or the head of HR also left the company as well. And I'm wondering if that was not the culprit.
No, it was it's a guy. They're both guys.
Well, I don't know. Maybe is it with a female? Is it a guy?
No,
It's 2019, Julie. Let's be a little more open-minded here, for God's sake, would you?
Sorry. Oh, gosh, sorry. The HR person was fired because he knew about it.
Oh!
And didn't do anything about it. Yeah, that's what I read. So they say.
So it was a girl.
Yeah.
We don't know who the woman is, though. We don't want to out her because.
Yeah. And I think Easterbrook, from what I read, is divorced, but it doesn't matter. They had clearly had a do not date people in the organization, do not have a relationship, especially, with someone who's at a lower level than you are. When you're CEO, everybody's at a lower level than you are. It's just one of those things. It's just bad form and bad practice, but people do it every day because they think they're special and they're not going to get
I hope
caught.
Nobody got pregnant or anything like that. We don't have that, do we?
We don't know that.
All right. Use the condom. Very important. Use get the McRib for her pleasure.
Have you been working all morning?
No, this is anyway. But I think there's a lesson here too, right? The company policy is managers are forbidden from engaging in romantic relationships, and I think it's a pretty severe. If you think about it, okay, McDonald's, one of the biggest corporations in the world, and have been doing pretty good recently. They've fallen on hard times a few years ago, and Easterbrook came and did some amazing things. He had the breakfast menu all day long, which is, I think, brilliant on his part right there. But the fact that McDonald's doing very well again, it wasn't enough to save him. I think that's a really telling thing here, because usually it'd be like, we'll throw some shade. He's a CEO. Well, just don't do it again. We look what happened with the with the sex scandals from Matt Lauer, and everyone's getting paid off. They didn't do this here, right? It's like, hey, we're getting ready. It's a brave new world, isn't it?
It is, and I think to say this is our policy, except if you're the CEO, I think organizations have gotten away with that in the past. I mean, the first half of my career was in human resources, and I know for sure that was going on with many, many high-level people. And I also know a lot of HR people who look the other way. And so to say, hey, guess what? This policy applies to everybody, including you. Mr. HR leader, you knew about it? I mean, what kind of precedent are you setting here? Your policy has zero teeth if it only applies, selectively, or to people who are performing really well anyway. I've seen that happen.
I don't know. It's a dumb move on the HR guy's part. I mean, all you got to do is go, Easterbrook was leaning on me. He knew about it, and he was threatening my job, so I couldn't make it public. Then you save your ass. What's this guy thinking?
Yeah, I don't know. That'll be interesting, because there'll be a lot more to come out from that. But I know from my own experience that a lot of HR people did have in the past protected the CEO, because when people are engaged in these kind of relationships, whether they are consensual and everybody's single and available, or whether everybody's married, they think they're so smart that nobody knows. Of course they know. I mean, Sonny, I'm sure you've worked in environments where people were having affairs.
Oh, God, you have no idea how people throw themselves at me all the time, and I got to beat them off with a stick.
I know. You are so noble.
Well, I want any part of that too, because it's like,
seriously.
Well, like today, Rick Uccino, I'm like, listen, Rick, I'm not your type. Anyway, Julie Bauke on the show this morning on 700 WLW, and talking about and this has got, if you think you're going to miss out on this, you're a smaller company, but if the CEO of McDonald's gets got because he's having an affair with a female subordinate, you got no chance whatsoever if you're an underling anywhere else.
Yeah, and let's not cry in our milk for him, because he got some massive severance packages. It was a part of his contract.
Right.
And he even said, yes, this is the right thing to do. So it's so interesting to me that you've got somebody who's very smart, very accomplished, very wise, who's done amazing things, very successful, and engaged in a supposedly consensual relationship, and he's probably the one who signed off on the policy.
Yeah.
So it just shows how powerful, those sort of things can be in an organization, and it's bad practice. So if you are to date somebody who reports to you or is in your chain of command is a bad idea for about 1,000 reasons. And a lot of companies have a policy around that, especially around chain of command. It doesn't matter if I'm 3 levels up from you or 3 levels down. If we're in the chain of command, there's all kinds of things wrong with that.
Boy, that's pretty hard, though. I mean, if you think about it, right, especially if you're in that big corporate environment, you're working 70, 80-hour weeks, right? A lot of these guys are. I mean, I get that. They make a lot of money, but some of these guys, and, not quite CEO types, but they're working all the time, right? And so the only people you meet are people you work with. And there may be people who are making not anywhere near what the CEO of McDonald's is, do the same thing. And so, you wind up falling in relationships with people you work with because you see them more than your spouse or anyone else. And so you get to know them personally, intimately, maybe go out for, there's lunches, there's business meetings, there's trips, you're going out for drinks after, and it's all innocuous until it's not. And I think that's really problematic, especially with how we as Americans are engaged in our work. And I don't know what his story is. I'm not covering for him, but I'm saying is, with a typical person, I think it just happens because we spend so much time at work as opposed to having a separate life. Our career has become everything to the point where, they want us around longer by having casual Friday, which then came into literally having beer at work for some people. They got we want you to hang around as long as possible. Sleep under your desk. It's great. That means we're going to get more production out of you. But the downside is stuff like this, right?
Yeah. But, in some organizations, it's not necessarily frowned on as long as they're outside of your chain of command. So if you are in purchasing and they're in sales, as long as your work can't be seen to influence each other's and therefore be of detriment to your peers or your colleagues, then in some organizations that's okay. You just have to be really careful with chain of command. And the lower level person you are, unfortunately, the more you're probably going to suffer because the company might decide that you're more expendable than the director or the VP.
But that also sets up for a lawsuit too, right? Because you start doing that, then it's like, wait a minute, you're firing the underling and not the boss. That takes 2 to tango there. So what about a medium or small company that you own right now? You go, okay, I'm in small business. Does this really affect me?
Yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely. The smaller the business, the closer everybody can be. And if you're all in one facility, of course. If you're all spread out, that's something different. If you're in a small facility, there's 50, 100, 200 people. Everybody's even more in your business. Everybody knows what's going on, and the impact can spread. The ripple effect is stronger. So don't, if you meet the love of your life at work and you're in each other's chain of command, you've got to head that off and say, okay, if we really think this is something, one of us should look for a role someplace else. Don't let yourself get in that position where you think you're hiding it, because I guarantee you are not. Right. And it's going to end poorly, and it really could impact not only your reputation, but your career, your earning potential, et cetera, et cetera. So get ahead of it, think with the head on your shoulders, and, just don't think that you're so special that people don't know what's going on.
See, so what you're saying is right now you are crapping on my good friend Cherie Palello and Mike Dardis, who recently got married at Channel 5. I'm not going to have you stand and diminish their relationship, Julie. I will not stand for on this show.
But they're, you know what? But look, okay, they're peers. She's been here longer. Mm-hmm. They had a conversation up front where he said, if this goes south, I will leave. Because you've been here longer, this is your hometown. So it happens. We all know it happens. But it sounds like they were really smart about it. And nobody even knew until they announced it.
Yeah.
That's the best story.
Well, and it's also, they're above board with the whole thing, too. And it's also entertainment, so it works. it works for the dynamic. Definitely works, and it's good for the bottom line at Channel 5. So that would, I guess, be a different matter entirely too. They're peers, I guess. But when you have someone who's working for you and you engage in a extramarital affair or a relationship, that's just a bad idea. No matter how good it may feel at the time, Jill. And that's the problem. The heart wants what the heart wants.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, Swanee, there are people listening to us right now who are going, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to get caught. Nobody knows."
By the way, the new CEO is a Indian Hill grad. So
I saw that.
I heard that everybody in Cincinnati gets a free small fry because he is.
It's like when you go to the Reds game and you guess where the ball's going to land on the Skyline Chili. Everybody in your row gets a Tony.
If the Bengals ever win, you get a Papa John's pizza. So Papa John's pretty happy about that. Just in case, so McLovin here, Steve Easterbrook, the former CEO, he got paid cash severance of $700,000, which is about 6 months' pay, but he gets to keep all his stock options, and that could be worth $70 million. So pretty good
that was
for
probably that was probably a part of his contract.
Yep. Because he's fighting without clause.
You have an employment contract.
Right.
You're not going to just be cut loose with 4 weeks' pay. But at that level, when you have that much money too, I mean, the professional embarrassment and the shame and the PR, that's pretty painful.
I think he'll be okay somehow.
Yes, he will. Well, he won't be living in it. He won't be living in his car.
No.
Clown car.
He'll be able to afford to eat at McDonald's every day if he wants to.
Yes, he will.
He's that kind of. You have McDonald's every day kind of money. You got some good money right there. So it worked out. I just wonder how it worked out for the other person though.
Yeah. Now
did they get fired too? How does that? Because if that's I don't know. Is that on him or is it on her too? Does she get?
Yeah, I don't know. They haven't said much about who it is or where she is or anything. So I don't know.
Got a great story, though. Yeah, I guess. All right. Julie Bauke from the Bauke Group. She's our career Sherpa. Joins us Wednesday mornings at this time, talk about career-related stuff, and certainly that fits the bill. Thanks again, Jules. We'll talk next week.
Carry on.
Podcast. Plug the podcast.
Podcast, Kent Wellington. We only release one every other week. So we're still on Kent Wellington, a partner at Graydon, who's a fabulous dude. So check out The Evolved Career.
Okay. Got the Evolved Career podcast. Thanks again, Jules.
Career. Yes.
Appreciate it.